like now to have us open up to a panel, and I'm going to introduce our panelists to come up and we can have a more discussion. They're going to talk more about applications-oriented as it applies to the Middle East. So thank you. Okay, I'm going to introduce our panelists now. And I've practiced the names, pronouncing their names, so bear with me. Okay, Dr. Henda Omodi. Great. And she is from the International Center for Biosaline Agriculture. Did I butcher your name? Yes, I did butcher it. Can you do it right? I did it right?
Yes.
Oh, sure. Yes. Okay. 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 Now, Mohammed's going to be a little more challenging for me. Mohammed Katashat. Yay. Great. And he is from the University of Jordan. So he came the longest way to get here. Is that right? It's a pleasure to have you here. Great. Sure. Did I butcher your name?
Even myself, I can sometimes.
Okay. Oh, he told me sometimes he butchers his own name, so I feel better now. Dr. Maj Al-Neber, and she is from Wana Institute. We're very fortunate to have them here today. Okay. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and have a seat, and I'm going to put this down and come over to the mic. But what I'm going to have them do is to describe a bit about themselves, each of them. But when they describe a bit about themselves, to do the introduction of themselves, then spend 10 minutes or so talking about what your major interests are with regards to water. And then after we finish that, then we'll take questions from the audience that you can put in. But if you could please put them in English, that would be really helpful to me. So let's get started. You want to get started? Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. What shall I say after this nice talk? So as Gerald, she introduced me, I'm plant physiologist at the International Center for Biosaline Agriculture. You may ask, what is biosaline agriculture? And many people, they ask, what is the biosaline agriculture? In fact, at the International Center for Biosaline Agriculture, we are looking for other sources of water. As you mentioned, the water, it's a global concern. We are losing the fresh water every day. This is due to the misuse, the overpumping, and different other issues. So what we do at our center is to find other potential water sources that can be used for the agriculture. Now we are enlarging our work to more for the water in marginal environment. When we say in marginal environment, it's not suitable for the normal agriculture, the traditional agriculture. It's environment that need different ways of dealing with it by using alternative crops. When we say alternative crops, crops that can be grown with different type of water, by using different technology for irrigation to help farmers reduce the over-irrigation and manage in proper way his or her land. I say always her because we do also work on women empowerment and how we can involve more women in agriculture and empower them. We work in applied research. We do a lot of research, and we try to apply it within different countries. We do work in more than 60 countries. From North Africa, from Sub-Saharan Africa, from Asia, the Gulf country, Jordan, everywhere. And we try to reach every country and to help farmers and to help everybody who need the knowledge, who need something to help how they can first manage properly the water that they have. If they don't have suitable water, which is fresh water, they can use alternative water by using alternative crops and by managing in proper way, because when you use different type of water, you show it in one of your slides, you show it the treated water, the wastewater, I don't want it, it's wastewater, you mention it for the salt water, and different other sources that can be used. And we need to be smart in using all these sources, because we don't want to contaminate again our groundwater. I mean, because our water is very, nowadays I'm saying the water is the diamond. If the oil before, it's really precious, now the water is a diamond. So the part of fresh water that we have, we need really to save it and to look for other options. And as research center, international research center, we try to find those solutions to help. I would not say that we are doing everything. We are partnering in collaboration with many countries, with many institutions to find different solutions, better solutions, how to save water, how to use water in efficient way. We call it the water efficiency, or how we can manage it in proper way. And at the same time, how to bring back some of our resources, our natural resources, because the use of water as well is contaminating the lands, etc. So we do use a lot of crops, alternative crops, like the halophytes, plant that they love salt, so they can grow with salt. And the beauty of these crops, that they can desalinate some affected area, and they can decontaminate as well. So we are working on the water aspect from different perspective. At the end, it's the goal and the aim is to help the farmers, to preserve the environment, to help the environment, and to help keeping safe the water that we have and getting other options for the future. We are talking to a youth, so we have to think about this youth. We have to keep these sources. We should not be egoists and thinking about ourselves, our present. No, we need to think about this youth and how we can conserve this resources, this natural resource of the water, which is, as you said, our body is 70%, more than 70% water. All of us, we need this natural resources, and it's our duty to conserve it for the next generation, for the youth. And I would love to hear from them how they see it from their perspective, and how they can help in this as well, how they can be involved for awareness campaign or for different aspects. Sorry, I speak in English because we need to do it. But if you need to ask in Arabic,
she can translate.
No, I don't want to take my time and the time of the other speakers. But if you need any details in Arabic, or if I didn't explain it in proper way that you didn't get the idea, just you can find me everywhere, or you can ask me so I can discuss further with you. I really count on you. I'm talking to the youth, this lovely youth that I was amazed to see them this morning. I told one of the 5 people that I was about to cry to see all the youth this morning. Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing to see how they are interested to learn. This is making me feel really proud. Really proud. I'm still a bit young, not really, but it reminds me when I was in their age and how I was looking for the information, and such events, how it will help them and how it will reflect in their future. So please, we need really to hear from you, and we are open, as Dr. Ahmed said in the morning. Please come to us. Ask to us how we can help you, how we can guide you, how we can learn from you. It's a win-win situation. We are learning from you. And you might learn a few things from us. And thank you very much. Sorry for being a bit long.
No, that's fine. So I'm going to change my rules, and that is you can write your questions in Arabic, and they'll translate them for us. So, and it'd be great if the students, if they could indicate that they're students, put like an S when you get done writing or something like that, so we can, if we have a number of questions, we can make sure that we're getting the student questions first. Mohammed, your turn.
All right, thank you very much for having me here and for attending this session. I'm working on desalination. Actually, I'm an associate professor at the University of Jordan, but I was one of the lucky ones who got his patents sponsored by a private investor in Saudi Arabia. And we believe we have a new technology that could make the desalination better, because you might know that one of the major desalination problem is the brine disposal. For reverse osmosis, for multi-stage flash, 50% of the water that is treated is going back to the sea. And that matter of fact is changing the chemistry of the seawater, especially around the surface, and it highly influencing the marine life. In our technology, however, the brine is less than 10%, and we're not intending to return it back to the sea. What we're going to do, we're going to have a solar ponds and extract the valuable salts out of it. I just want to mention some interesting facts. Of course, Professor Gerald have covered the issue well about the water characteristics and property, and the hydrogen bond, this magic bond that make the surface tension of water larger, make the freezing of the water getting higher in volume, which means the seas and the rivers don't all freeze out, only the top layer just to freeze out to keep the marine life underneath working in a harmony. Another interesting fact about water, and it's the advantage and the disadvantage of water. It's an excellent solvent. So it's been used in many industries because it's an excellent solvent, it's cheap to afford, but that makes it easily contaminated by anything. And water, when it's contaminated, then it's not good for drinking or for agriculture because it just influences everything around it. So that's the interesting and the challenging part. Another challenging part, most of seawater salts have invert solubilities, which means their solubility decrease with increasing the temperature. And this make the process of desalination, especially the thermal processes, highly challenging ones. So what I practically did in my life, I developed some patents regarding some membranes, and I worked in membrane distillation and water desalination. And the good news is just we were able to achieve our first product into the market, and we got the first order for our startup company from Aquastil company in Netherlands. And we hope this can change and influence the water desalination, because I've mentioned earlier in one of my presentations, only 1% of the water, fresh water, is produced by desalination. All through 2/3 of the planet is seawater. So obviously, the solution is to go to desalination, but due to the technical, environmental, and economical challenges that currently associated with the desalination processes, desalination is not really in the picture of producing fresh water. But we hope with what we developed and the continuous work that some of you will achieve in the future will do the job for desalination and water. And, like we all here in Jordan, the second poorest country in water resources in the world. That's quite an interesting thing to think about it. 20 or 30 years ago, most of the conflicts were surrounding the energy resources, the oil resources. But in the next 10, 20, 30 years, those conflicts will be for water. And we are now hearing the news about regarding the Nile River, Egypt, Ethiopia problems, because water is important. We cannot simply survive without water. So we need to find a solution, but this solution should be economical, environmental clean, eco-sound, and everything is without influencing the planet around us. So that's what we are trying to do. And of course, we will be happy to answer your questions if any question come around.
Thank you, Professor, dear panelists, and dear attendees. Good afternoon, all of you. I'm Majd Annavar. I'm from WANA Institute. But before starting with my ideas, let me introduce our institute. One institute at Stanford, West Asia and North Africa Institute. We are locating at RSS in Amman, Jordan. We are a independent policy think tank organization. We provide evidence-based research to policymakers and to also the local communities, and for three main pillars: human security, social justice, and sustainable development. And I'm the team leader and senior researcher for the sustainable development goal pillar. Personally, I have a PhD in water resources management. I did my PhD about agriculture, the sustainability of agriculture system in MENA region or in arid land in the MENA region. I'm always concerning about the agriculture system. For example, in Jordan, about 54% of fresh water are going to this sector. And back this sector are contributing to Jordanian GDP only with 3.8%. So when we talk about the sustainability of agriculture system, that will remind us directly to the Sustainable Development Goal that was introduced by the UNDP by 2015 to be achieved by 2030. But this terminology, sustainability, actually I have some concerns about this terminology itself. Are we sure that we want to achieve the sustainability? Can we achieve this in our country? I believe that in some countries like Jordan that have several challenges as unsustainable agricultural production, scarcity, water scarcity, and mismanagement and misallocation of this limited resources, and also the climate change aspect. This will lead us from the sustainability issue. I believe that now we should think of increasing the future time or the lifetime for the aquifers for the surface water instead of sustaining it to be more practical. So this is the beginning. For the agriculture sector, because I'm really concerning in this sector, it's not only water. It's a whole equation. We have water, we have energy, and we have inputs, and we have labor. So to sustain this system, we have to look at the equation as a whole equation. We can't separate the element of this equation alone. Just to tell you something, agriculture is using a huge amount of water resources, but in the same time, the cost for the farmers for the water, it's only about 3%. The energy for the energy he will consume 40% of his agricultural bill, but for the water it's only 3%. And this is due to our policies that the water prices in Jordan are very optimistic, and everyone. It's like an open access resources, and so that's the problem with the policy thing. For the challenges, as Dr. Qtayshat said, that there's a lot of technology that can be implemented for desalination or for the membranes that you patent. Maybe we can use it for treated wastewater, to treat the water or to desalinate water, to provide different sector and to decrease the dependence on the fresh water. But in order to be able to implement this activity, first of all, we have to include the users, the end users. We have to study the market. Is the market ready to adopt these new technologies? For you, young youth, I know that you have a lot of ideas, but you have at the beginning to check the market. Is your idea after 5 years of implementation will be available to the market? If the market will accept that, is it commercialized? It's not only, yeah, I have an idea and I want to implement it. You have to think in sustainable and the future, in a future perspective. Going back to the agricultural system, I'm always looking at any system as a multi-level. So to achieve the end result, we have include all the users, starting from the farmers, the local users, up to the government organization, to the policymakers. So in order to achieve the end result, we have to look at the equation itself as a whole equation. We have to include all the users with the equal parts, and to start thinking of increasing the future time of limited natural resources instead of sustaining it. Thank you.
Well, let me thank all three of you, and I'm ready to have everyone ask questions. Do we have a computer with some questions on it? So let me go back while we're pulling that up there. Let me go back and ask you, Majid, is it even, I mean, there's so many different, and the two of you can respond too, there's so many different variables that beyond just can we desalinate water. the policy issues, the market issues, how far down the line do you think we have to go before we realize we're in bad shape? I mean, we're in bad shape now, but the government doesn't recognize it. People don't recognize it. So at what point do you think it's going to look like people in general will take this seriously? In the Middle East. Let's focus on the Middle East for now.
So I will start that we have to include them in the beginning with any project that are implemented in their field. If we are trying to implement project related to agriculture, then we should, in the beginning, go to the farmers and ask for their need. Are this project is in line with their needs or not? And at the same time, in parallel, all these things are gonna be implemented in parallel. We go to the market. Is the market ready to implement this activity or no? And then we can start. But the problem in MENA region, let's say, we put the project, we implement it, and then we remember, oh yeah, there is an end user. We include the end user by the final event or the final conference, something like that. We don't include them from the beginning.
Okay.
And also the market. I don't think that we have a concrete market need study in Jordan. Please correct me if I'm right, if I'm wrong, yeah?
Okay.
I think the major problem, especially in the Middle East, we always take that water is available for granted, you know? The people are not really aware about the efforts that, you know, that we are the second poorest country in the world. The way we use water does not reflect that, at least from people point of view. And there is another social thing. For example, if you go to a farmer and you have a wastewater treatment unit and try to convince him that this wastewater treatment unit convert this gray water into water that you can use for agriculture, he will simply will not believe you, because he's not socially aware, technically aware. So we need to work on the people, like by capacity building, by convincing them that those techniques will help you in decrease your use of water. Because if you don't decrease, and I don't decrease, and not everybody decrease, then we will suffer and suffer more, and the suffering will be a global thing. It will not be limited or localized for certain one without the other. Another political issues. For example, in Jordan, we know that the Dead Sea is dying. We're trying to rescue the Dead Sea, but we still have to sort out the politics in the region in order to build the Bahrain Canal between the Red Sea and the Dead Sea, because otherwise the Dead Sea, with its beauty and its like specific and very special environment, is going to die simply. And we need water simply. I will just mention another thing. 60% of the desalination market are in Saudi Arabia. But if you, and you know, like the cost of each cubic meter on the government is around $1.5 per cubic meter. They're giving it for the people for free. And this is wrong from my point of view, because people need to know that this water costs a lot of money and a lot of efforts. And they need to be more aware and more careful when they're using that water. So there is many technologies are coming through. You're talking about the market. I'm telling you, the annual growth of the desalination market is $15 billion per year. That's a huge amount. That means the market is hungry for new technologies. And any coming new technology is going to the market directly. But again, you know, water, we will always be depending on water. And the more we live, our requirement of water is increasing, because simply our living standards are going up, you know, and the population growth. And although there is a huge work on agriculture, as Professor Majd said, to improve the water quality, or at least to improve the genetic quality of the crops in order to take water with a little bit of salinity or a little bit of pollutants in order to be able to use the water. We have to be aware that every drop of water matters, simply because if we're not thinking about our own life, I have two beautiful daughters who are just 6 years old and 8 years old, and I want a better future for them from water, from everything. So for the next generation, it's very important to work on water and to work on the people awareness. Maybe that's the most important thing, especially in the region.
So, if may I add what have been said, because I'm working closely with some Jordanian farmer on the water, the good management of their water. Dr. Navar, I think her sister is working in the same project. As an international organization, we do work in different countries, and we do work on how to manage the water. You said the end user, and when you come to the farmer, it's only awareness that is lacking. Because when you talk to the farmer, maybe at the beginning they didn't listen to you, but when you prove, when you show them that it is for their benefit, that they need to conserve this water, I agree with you. Not only Jordan, the problem is the global concern. We need just to reach to these farmers, to show them, and there is special. I always tell my colleagues and everybody in the team that there is special words, special way of conversation with the farmer to just convince them. And believe me, they can be convinced. Now, when we came to the desalination unit, this is true. And we have the same problem in UAE, in different country, not only in the GCC country. When you talk about new technology for the desalination, it's very important. We have to consider that the quantity of water produced, the fresh water, is really minimal compared to the brine water that come out from this desalination unit. But for example, what we do at our center, that we try to reuse this brine water, what we call it the integrated agriculture systems, to reuse this water in a way that it's not dumped to the land again and contaminate the groundwater, and to save the energy. We come to what has been said about the energy, because when you produce, we use this desalination unit, is energy as well. So we are consuming water and energy and money there. So we have to really reuse and have integrated system how to use this brine water for aquaculture, for using other crops, because there's, as I said, there is crops that they can survive and they love the salt. So you can use this water, you will not lose it. You will use your fresh water to grow the vegetables, the sensitive, because there is I'm plant physiologist, so I always come back to the plant. There is plant sensitive to salinity. Other are more or less tolerant. Other are really halophytes, salt lover. So this is when I talked at the beginning, it's how to use the proper crops, how to really manage everything, and how to think about the whole system, the integrated system. So everything has a solution. We need just to reach, and I agree with them for the capacity building. We need to work on that, to reach this farmer and the way how to deal all with, to give our message and to give the knowledge, because you cannot just give them the technology without showing them how to use it and how to manage it in the proper way.
So since we don't have a computer coming up here, what I'm going to do is something we haven't done so far, and that is, do we have questions out there? And then we're going to, oh, you have the computer there. Okay, cool. Okay, here we got a good one here. Why aren't water abuse acts taken as serious as they should be in the terms of laws? Now there's a wide open question. Who wants to take that? Or shall we move on to question 7 and say, oh my God, who knows? So it is, when people abuse water, why isn't it taken seriously in terms of having a law for it? That's your baby, yeah, it's your area.
I will answer from Jordanian perspective. We all know that Jordan stands for its tribal, the tribes in Jordan, Al-Asha'iriyya. When you look at water resources in Jordan, we can find that there is a number of legal wells and there is the same number of illegality in Jordan. But this illegality due to the sensitivity of the issues and the sensitivity of the users that are using these resources, and because they believe that they own the water, that they have their ownership since it's beneath their land. So the Ministry of Water and Ministry of Agriculture, with the user, they are trying to use indirect tools and measures in order to implement the laws without causing any conflict in the country. So, for example, they start doing this blaming thing. They started to putting the names of the people who are using illegal well, or the people who are not paying for their water in the newspaper, in a daily newspaper. And now they are trying to do a coordination between all departments. So all the departments now are linked together. So if I want to renew my license, for example, a driving license, and I have not paid for the water, then I can't do that. So they are trying to control that with the indirect communication with the users in order to decrease the sensitivity of this issue.
Thank you. So I have 3 student questions that have come through, and in these 3, there's a tremendous amount of frustration you can see in the question. I'll just start with that. So I'm going to give you all 3 of them so you can hear the frustration. That's going to bring tears to my eyes, so I got to be careful. Who is more endangered, humans or ecosystems, regarding either quality or quantity of water? Number 2. Regarding any of the previously mentioned methods, when will we actually see change? And number 3, it's a little bit longer, but I think the point of that question is, when are we going to do more than just worrying about it and realize it's our lifeline and actually delivering on it rather than just talking about it? So I don't think any of those are easy answers. Again, it gets me depressed. I have children too. But they're questions we all need to think about. So I'd like if any of you would like to share your perspective. I mean, we sort of talked about I asked the question, when are we going to do something?
Even the first question could lie into the same lines with those questions.
Yeah.
When you know there is 150,000 children die annually because of the lack of access to clean water, that should make every human being aware. The problem, I believe it's a global problem. We are only concerned about our own borders and what's inside those borders from water. If we have enough water like Canada or Sweden, then we don't worry. But believe me, it's coming for everyone. The problem of water is coming, it's gonna touch every single house. Because those kids in Africa deserve to live. Imagine, what if the cure of cancer is stuck in one of those kids' mind, and we don't give him the chance to live the life? You know, that's how important water is. I'm strongly supporting to criminalize those who abuse water without any sense of responsibility, and it should be not on our own government. It should be a worldwide issue. This issue should be addressed worldwide, because as I've mentioned, listen, with the technology we have, with the advancement that the scientists are trying to do and the companies are trying to do, we could manage to survive together in harmony. Regarding the ecosystem, it's both. You cannot only care about our own luxury as a human being, forgetting about the ecosystem. We all are suffering now from heat wave after another, We all sense the climate change. It's not hypothetical anymore. It's reality and it's happening. We need to act quickly. But believe me, we cannot on our own act. The governments should take a strong stand. And not only the government of Jordan or government of Saudi Arabia or the government of Syria.
The United States.
The United States. All the governments should stand together, because it's going to influence every single human being living around. That's from my point of view. With you as a youth, you could be, the good thing is that in your age, you are much more aware than us when we were in your age. Maybe because the problems are more, maybe because of the social media, maybe because of the internet, but you are aware. But you have to take this awareness to the next level. you have to have your voice reach to the parliament, to the government, to whomever. You know, it's all about you now. And we're going to be supporting you all the way by the technology we have and the proposals we will make for making our life better as a human being.
Yeah, really, I was thinking about this question, but this is make me as well confident that if we had such question, it means that you are aware. We are about to finish. That you are aware about the problem, that it is really criminal. And my colleague, as my colleague said, it's not there's only this responsibility of the government, or if it's not one entity, one person responsibility, or one organization responsibility. It's all our responsibility. It is your responsibility. Now, if we are here, yes, my dear, it's yours. If we are here today, this is to give a bit of information, to discuss this issue. The fact that we discuss it and we raise the issue, and you see how important it is. You will be an ambassador. If you will see anybody, it's not only at the agricultural level. This is true that the big amount of water is used in agriculture, and without agriculture, we don't have food. But there is the use, the daily use of the water, and it is here. If we really change our habits, if each of us try to do something a bit, like Dr. Rashi said, a drop of water, it's drop by drop, we have this ocean. See, if every one of us do something to give some awareness to our parents, to our kids, to anybody, how to use the water in the proper way, how to save the water for the next generation, we can do something. And that's why we are discussing this issue. We are not giving solution. There is no solution that fit each situation. There is different ways. But we are trying to do a bit, something that can help, because it's global. It concerns all of us, not the existing one here, the future. I'm talking about you are now young, but you will be parent. You will have child, and your child will have child. So we have to think about all this future generation. And if you are really interested in understanding, you understand what is the problem and that we need to act, I'm sure, and I believe on it, that after this summit, you will think about it and rethink about it, and you will do something. As my colleague said, now the media, you are more active than us. We don't have this opportunity for social media, for this technology. You can pass the message, and itself, it's something. When you pass the message, how precious the water is, how we can manage it, we can do something. You believe it or not, but this is true. This is what is the outcome of any family gathering like this. I want to say family gathering, so you will feel that we are all in the same. We are all living in the same situation. It's for human being, for the environment, because we do care about the environment. We are living in the environment, so it is important to think about all aspects. And you will learn from here, it's not only scientific things, it's behavior. And this is what we need to change. It's the behavior. Thank you.
Great. Well, I want to thank all the panelists. This is a hard discussion to have, but you've been very thoughtful and helpful, and also the questions from the audience, and for the audience sticking around to talk about this important issue. I think the point that we're trying to say is that, particularly to young people, there's a lot that you can learn from us with regards to what we've tried, what we think about, but we share your passion on making sure that there's water available for you, your children, our grandchildren, and as we go forward. So thank you very much for being part of this session, and that wraps it up from here.